Hey guys, welcome back. I guess like by this time you kind of noticed like the background change, but I'm gonna try to keep like the raw uncovered truth separate from these videos. I'm really not sure how I'm supposed to work this, but I was guided to do two separate things, so just kind of going with the flow. Anyway, I just jumped on because, well, everyone's predicting, tomorrow, the 29th, to be like something like life-changing because of the three eye atlas. And I'm just here to say that yes, if you are a star seed, you are totally feeling this. 1000% without a doubt. Like it's coming in like super strong. You could feel like just you could just feel the energy switching, which is very interesting. I did want to talk about, actually, I was just in a wind tunnel outside because it's apparently very windy, so excuse my hair, but they just wanted me to jump on for some reason. I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to be focusing on, except that the frequency and the fact that moving forward, they want to, really want you guys to understand that, the old methods of doing things. So, I'm not bashing modalities, right? Healing modalities. I'm not because, that's just not what I'm doing. What I am doing is telling you that your nervous system is key. You don't need to physically get anything done. Like you don't need a any sessions that involve, oh God, the way that you translate this is just like unreal. Um, you don't need any session. Like unless you need to see a practitioner, you really don't need to. At the same time, like unless you feel the need, because you have the power to heal yourself, right? And I'm really gonna like I think I stress that in like every video. You guys definitely have the power to heal yourselves, and that's where the focus is going moving forward. So yes, breathing, the whole breathing element is key. However, breath work. However, when you are in situations where you are not relaxed enough to breathe, right? When you are in living situations, work environments, but like especially living, like when you come home and which is your time to unwind and you can't unwind and you can't take those deep breaths and you can't let go because your nervous system is on high alert living in the environment that you are because at the moment that's where you are, right? Even though you're well aware that you're not supposed to be there, like sometimes it's not that easy to like move out of a situation in the physical. But the awareness helps, right? The awareness helps. The fact that you need to find, the right mindset and the right um thing for you to be able to maintain your balance, your sovereignty, your power, right? So they really want you to focus on how you would benefit from, well, it's not even benefit. It's you knowing what's best for you, right? So basically you need to sit and talk to yourself and ask yourself like what works? Like what's going to work? I mean, even through my experience, right? And on the level I'm at, there's still days where like nothing works. Like, I'm always the one that says, go outside, stand barefoot. Sometimes when you're in, especially like mid downloads and they're heavy, intense downloads and unwinding of your soul blueprint, some of those can be like a little overwhelming, for your nervous system. And, I think I've talked about that, like, keeping your human occupied while, all of these things come in and it integrates in your system. And then, and well, when you're fully embodying that version of you, it's a little bit more easier, like your nervous system's more relaxed, during the embodiment phase. And that's more of the you kind of feel like you don't belong anywhere, right? Like that's the embodiment phase. Like that's the, you could dub that as the in between, the void. it's just like you don't align with anything that you did anymore, and you don't align with what you know is coming. But the embodiment is like full knowledge, is you embodying all of the knowledge that, just unraveled. I don't know why they had me go off in that direction, but just I guess that'll click to whoever it's meant to click for. However, let's go back to modalities. And although I am a huge fan of them, like I said, and even off this planet, us star seeds, some of us will remember this, but like, running missions, you would have to go back to headquarters, and you would do the Octorian med beds, let's say, and like you would be, well, it depends on where you were and where what you were doing and where you actually come from, but a lot of a lot of things come into play, right? But you would be in these chambers, like these frequency realignment chambers. So yes, is it good to get Reiki and spinal energetics and hypnosis? And hypnosis really isn't that much into, well, it kind of is, but like I know I'm missing like so many right now, and why I can't think of them, I don't know. But like just, and those are great, right? Because it's clearing your energy, but you need to know how to do that on your own. And you know how to do that on your own. So I should say you have to remember how to do that on your own. You have to remember like how to do that without seeking someone outside. And yes, again, it's great to have all these healers, right? And for you to go to and to lead you in the right direction. But you have to be able to heal yourself as well, because it's all about, the power that you have and the power we hold, and the power, like, just it's all about you. It's all about the individual and you honoring yourself and you taking care of yourself. So yes, if you're tapped out and wiped out like I am sometimes, and you need, like outside assistance, that's fine. Like I tend to not go outside assistance, and maybe that, you know, that's just me. But you also, I also know that I have to regulate myself, right? Like I have to, I know this. Like I know that we hold everything to regulate ourselves. When the human steps in and the human gets involved, it's a little crazy of the detaching, and then, kind of putting your ego to the side and moving forward. But overall, you need to be able to deal with yourself. So I think I want to jump to the breathing, right? Breath work. So when you are not in a situation where you could inhale and exhale deeply, then breath work is not going to work for you, because you can't really, you're not relaxed enough to do breath work. And yes, it's all about connection to you and whatever, but stillness. Let me stress stillness. If you are in an environment, right, that you are relaxed enough, right, not to breathe, right, not to go deep into breathing, and but enough to maintain your breathing like at a decent level, and you're able to just lay there in solitude, stillness. That is stillness. That is, to me, just as equivalent to, deep breath, doing breath work. I've been in those situations, so I know that sitting in stillness can be like body numbing, and it'll feel like, very, not in a bad way. It could feel very peaceful. It could be very relaxed. So if you're thinking, oh my God, breath work is the only thing that's going to get me through this, and you can't breathe correctly, then, you're really going to screw yourself up, because there's so many other options, right, to get there, especially if you're in situations where your full body is not relaxed enough in order for you to go there. And I'm talking about, it's not your nervous system that you have to recalibrate, because if you're in a situation that you're not supposed to be, and you're trying to get out, and there's a little bit of a delay in the physical aspect, right, due to Lord only knows what, you have to be able to regulate yourself as well, right? So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like, well, that's what I'm talking about. We're not talking about anything else, but the fact that when you are in situations that you're not supposed to be in, and you're trying, to make moves, you're making the moves to get out, that's when those come into play. That's when you have to sit in stillness whenever you can and like literally connect to yourself. You don't have to do full breath work. You don't have to get all yourself worked up. You just kind of have to just sink into yourself, which is kind of sinking into your soul and being able to connect to your higher self, right? To your higher self, to your guides, to source, the universe, whatever, however you want to put it. The main thing is you doing the work, right? You although in a situation, right, that you know you shouldn't be in, and your awareness, and again, you're getting out of that situation, but until then, you have to do what works for you, right? At that point, when you leave that situation and move out of that situation, that's when you could focus really on your nervous system and recalibrating your nervous system. But that kind of like it kind of jump starts itself. And if it doesn't, then there's so many things that you could do to jumpstart your nervous system. And that's just by remaining, calm and yourself and just, you keep telling yourself that you're safe. And that'll kind of jumpstart it. But like there's all these nervous system routines that I could get into. There's lots of, you know, programs, I would say, but not programs, but like little things here and there, everywhere that, people are teaching you how to regulate your nervous system. You don't necessarily have to go to a practitioner, and I know so many people are going to hate this, in order to get treated, in order to clear the energy. Because yes, you have stuck energy, but you should be able to clear your energy. And I understand 1000% if you need help to do that, right? Because I even offer things where, it's helpful if you need to speak to someone if you're stuck, but you have to have an awareness. I don't want people going, right? It's not just it's just like I don't feel, how about that? I don't feel the need. And I even say this like in my services, like this is like a one and done deal. Like there's no reason for you to ever want to come back to me besides the fact that I'm awesome. That's fine, but like no, I'm kidding. But like there's no reason that you should be coming back to me after you had a session with me because you should be able to now remember how to take over and how to maintain yourself, right? So there's to me, going and skipping that and let's say going to get Reiki and going to do this and even yoga, it's not getting down to the deep rooted situation. It's not you dealing with your emotions, it's not you dealing with your feelings, it's not you dealing with the past versions of you, what you let happen to you, what you let your like people get away with, what you did to others, like all of this stuff, right? Taking the accountability, wanting other people to take accountability, the forgiveness and all that stuff. You have to do that regardless. You have to do the work. So I love one. Here's a good one. And I have a perfect example of this, right? I had somebody recently come back into my life, which I should just do a whole episode on that because I am in, the divine union frequency, and it was more of a test to see like, I would say him testing the waters than it was for me because I already know where shit's going and that's the bottom line. And but there's many people that come back into your life, right? On this journey as you elevate, right? People have the free will to level up with you, to do the inner work and level up with you. Some people think that they are healed, right? They dealt with whatever they dealt with and they're like, okay, and then they swept everything else under the carpet. In order for you, right, on this level of you, in order for that person, no matter or situation to align with you again, it has to completely unravel and get to 0 point. Okay? If you're at 0 point, that's awesome. But like the entire thing has to be at 0 point in order for anything to go forward. Or you just go forward nice and clean by yourself. Either way. However, you should know, right? And there are even times where I'm like, okay, great. Like I remembered this, went through that whole like, thing. Even like last week, laid on my ass, couldn't even focus, going through whatever I was going through. But it's so funny because I'm like, oh, I'm kind of done with the well, I've graduated. So let's say, and maybe a lot of you watching this have graduated too, hopefully. But there are so many that have not graduated yet, and believe me, you will get there. But like as far as like big lessons, I've graduated from those. So, and I know that there's a collective where, we have graduated the big lessons. So even when we're knocked on our ass, it's not to basically go back in and figure out like why we're being triggered, why we're this, because we really don't have those anymore on that level. Where some of you guys are, like shit, you got to go back down the rabbit hole and figure it out. Now on, where I'm at, and I'm sure where a lot of others are at, you kind of go back to remembering, right? Which kind of knocks you on your ass because then you have to embody that, like all that you remember. But it's not lesson based, if that makes any sense. I'm really not sure if that made sense. But I'm gonna rewatch this video probably. Let's say like how it edits and whatever. Anyway, so you have that. My whole thing, right, is you have to, moving forward, learn how to heal yourself. Yes, you could go outside and you could, like to other people and ask for assistance, but you cannot put all of this emphasis on these modalities that are out there when you yourself have to actually do the work. So I say that as anybody could take a course in anything, right? Oh, you want to be an energy healer? Great, take a course. Pay XYZ amount, take the course. You want to be a Reiki master, you know, pay the, take the course and get a certificate. That's my favorite, the certificates. Okay. So just because you're taking the course and you pass the course doesn't mean that you are a healer. It's either you're a healer and it's inside you and that's what you radiate, or you take the course and you actually remember that that's your thing, but it doesn't make you anything. Like a piece of paper does not make you anything. Going through a course doesn't make you anything. Sometimes it's a waste of your time because it's not, your thing, but you're just like one of those people that feel, oh my God, I have to have a certificate for this and I have to have a certificate for that. And newsflash, certificates did not exist off this planet. So, and they didn't actually exist on this planet until I want to say maybe 400 years ago. So take that into consideration. No one needed a certificate to practice anything because it was literally wisdom and knowledge that we have inside of us. Let that sink in for a bit. So I'm out of here, guys. Peace out until the next time.